NBA fans, Dom 2K on the mic, and chances are if you clicked on this video, you already know a lot about Michael Jordan because, well, people have never really shut up about the guy even though it's been over a decade since he retired. That's mainly because he's the greatest of all time, so yeah, you probably know more than your fair share about the guy. But what you might not know until you watch this video is that he was an absolute savage when it came to trash talk. And I'm not just talking about your everyday trash talk to opposing players, this guy used to roast his teammates pretty good as well. Just know that as I do these stories, they're going to start off kind of lighthearted and it's going to get worse as it goes on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these stories because they're pretty funny. Victim 8, Rip Hamilton. So as we all know, at the very end of Michael Jordan's career, he came out of retirement one last time to step down and play for the Washington Wizards. Not only was he averaging over 20 points a game at the age of 38 and 39 and still scoring 50 on opponents, he was still pretty good at trash talking his teammates, as you're going to find out later in this video. So during some of Rip Hamilton's earliest years in the NBA, he got to be the teammate of Michael Jordan. He recalls that this was a little bit of the grumpier Michael Jordan because, well, I mean, you really couldn't be happy with what was going on with the Wizards. The roster really was not all that good. Anyways, the story goes that Rip Hamilton and another unnamed teammate who apparently didn't last long in the NBA were having a conversation with Michael, and during that conversation, they both asked him to put him onto the Team Jordan brand because, well, who wouldn't want to be wearing Jordans at that time? And apparently Michael Jordan laughed and responded, "My sneakers are for all-stars." Now, as you're going to learn later in this video, this is just Michael's way of basically testing his teammates and seeing what they're made of, and it kind of worked for Rip Hamilton because although Michael basically insulted him right there, telling him he wasn't good enough to wear his brand sneakers, later on after he would be traded to the Detroit Pistons, he would not only win a championship, but he would make the All-Star team 3 straight years starting in the year 2006. So when Rip did finally become an All-Star, he went back to Michael and said, "You gotta let me wear the shoes now, I'm an All-Star," and it worked out for him. This is a bit of a nice success story. It's one of the few examples you're gonna hear in this video of Michael Jordan's trash talk actually propelling a teammate to be successful. Because yeah, after number 7, it pretty much goes downhill, so enjoy these stories while it lasts. Number 7, Robert Parish. So notice for this one, I didn't call Robert Parish a victim because, well, he definitely was not a victim of Michael Jordan's trash talk. Michael tried to intimidate him, but it's a little bit difficult to intimidate somebody who's kind of held in the same stature as you, and by that of course I mean Hall of Fame. So for those of you who didn't know, Robert Parish spent his last year in the NBA at the age of 150 basically, playing for the Chicago Bulls, and he didn't play much. That's probably why you don't know that. But anyways, the story with this one goes that it happened during a scrimmage in practice. Apparently Scotty and Michael were dominating the second team, and like we've already established, Michael loves to trash talk, so he was doing a whole lot of jawing to the other team. That was until Robert Parish came into the game for that second team, and all of a sudden Michael and Scotty couldn't dominate them quite the same anymore with the down low presence. So being that Parish turns the game around, now he starts talking, and if you start talking, Michael is going to start talking. So naturally the two kind of get into it, and Parish basically tells him, "Look, I'm not as impressed with you as all these other guys, I got rings of my own too." So at that point Michael figures he's really gonna test him, and he tells Robert Parish, "I'm gonna kick your ass." And Parish looks back at him and says, "No, you really aren't actually." And that was basically the end of the beef right there. Robert Parish talked about this in an interview not too long ago, and he said he didn't really take anything from this because he just kind of figured this was Michael's way of trying to intimidate people and to see what they were made of. And you cannot intimidate a center that's a Hall of Fame center at that, already has won championships, actually beat you one time in the playoffs, so yeah, you know, you can't really do much against that. But enough of the people that answered Jordan's call, now let's go ahead and get to more victims. Number 6, Steve Smith. You'd probably be pretty hard pressed to find somebody who tried to guard Michael for a game and didn't get lit up, cause he kinda did it to everybody throughout his career. But I'm quite sure that Michael Jordan didn't count backwards for his point total on everybody he actually lit up. Steve Smith and Michael Jordan actually trash talked each other quite a bit throughout their careers, but this story is especially hilarious because Steve Smith says that one game when he was playing for Miami, he was guarding Jordan, and Jordan turns around and hits a jump shot and says 38. Now Steve Smith has no clue what he's talking about at this point. Michael Jordan comes back, hits him again, now he says 36. By the time the game is over and Michael has gotten to 0, Steve Smith realizes that Michael Jordan was actually counting backwards from 40 for the amount of points he was going to score that night, and he actually did it. This is especially impressive because that means Michael literally went out there and said, "I'm scoring 40 on this guy tonight," and counted backwards. It's one thing to count up to the total, but to start at the total and count backwards, that takes a certain amount of savage that Michael really proved he had that night. Victim 5, Craig Ehlo. So you probably think I'm about to talk about the time Michael Jordan hit that famous game winner over Cleveland and Craig Ehlo went falling to the ground, but no, turns out that's just one of the times MJ tortured Ehlo. A year later, he went on to set his career high of 69 points on the Cleveland Cavaliers, while Ehlo was guarding him for much of that game, or trying to guard him. But that's not even the best part. So you look at the stat line and it's amazing. It's like 69 points, 18 rebounds, some other crazy stuff he did there. But when you find out that Michael was actually telling Ehlo everything he was going to do before he did it, that performance becomes even more amazing. I'm just going to read to you guys the quote that Ehlo said that Michael was saying to him that night. Quote, "Listen man, I'm hitting everything, so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do this time and see if you can stop it, but you know you can't stop it. I'm going to catch it on the left elbow, and then I'm going to drive to the left baseline, and then I'm going to pull up and shoot my fadeaway." And according to Ehlo, that's exactly what Michael did the entire night. Told the guy what he was going to do, went out and did it. And Ehlo said he was going to try to use it to his advantage to stop him, and he was right there with him sometimes, but that's just how damn good Michael was, as you can see from the tape of that game. Legend has it that before that game, Michael read a newspaper that read "Mission Impossible, Craig Ehlo to try to ground Air Jordan." So I don't know, maybe MJ found some kind of incentive to go score 69 and talk to the guy at the same time doing it from that newspaper. I don't know, MJ's a competitive freak. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next victim. Victim 4, Bill Cartwright. So this is where we really start digging into the teammate roasting, and if you didn't know, Bill Cartwright actually played for the Knicks before the Bulls. He was traded there, and he was pretty good on the Knicks for a long time. He actually was averaging as much as like 20 points, and he hung around 17, but then he had a devastating foot injury, which I believe it was a fracture, and then he injured it again, so he ended up almost missing about 2 total seasons, and then the next season he came back, he played about 58 games. So by the time he was traded to the Bulls for Charles Oakley, he was already known as this injury-prone player. Not only did Michael not enjoy that, but he did not like the fact that they traded his friend Charles Oakley there. So legend has it that during the practices, Michael would try to embarrass him by throwing super hard passes that were impossible to catch to quote-unquote expose his lack of hands. That's what he was trying to show there. But the more savage part of this is that he would call the man Medical Bill because his first name is Bill and he always got injured. He called him Medical Bill during the practices, so that's a level of disrespect right there. And if you're Bill Cartwright, what do? I mean, that's actually pretty damn clever when you think about it. So Bill Cartwright took it, won his championships, and whatever, it's behind them, right? So while Bill was able to roll with the punches and just kind of accept Michael Jordan's torturing, the next guy wasn't actually so lucky. Number 3, Rodney McCray. So if you go and check out what McCray was doing before the Bulls, he actually was not a bad player. He seemed like a decent small forward who could score the ball, and if you're a team like the Bulls looking for a championship, you can add him and possibly have him come behind Scottie and do some damage. And I guess that was probably the idea before Michael totally ruined that. Here again, Michael is just trying to test out the new guy, see what he's made of, and pretty aggressively too, because the accounts from practice go that when they were in scrimmages, he would get in his face and yell at him and just tell him, "You're a loser, you've always been a loser," and all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure that's the PG rated version. They won't give us the actual, quote of what he said there. But anyways, when you go and look at the stats before he was with the Bulls and after he was with the Bulls, yeah, it's pretty clear the effect that it's pretty clear what Michael said to him had some kind of effect on his play. The guy went from a player that could give you 16 points a game, 14, at least 10, to a guy that only averaged 3.5 points for the Chicago Bulls. Not only was that the worst year of his career, but that was also the end of his career. So yeah, might be safe to say that Michael ended it because he was 31 years old. It's not like he was some really old guy who it was just time for him to retire. Nah, it looked like Michael really put a hurting on him. A former player for the Bulls who was actually unnamed went on to say that Michael Jordan totally ruined Rodney McCray for us that year. So yeah, Michael pretty much disproved that old saying about sticks and stones may break my bones but words will never hurt me. Yeah, not this time. Number 2, Stacey King. If you watched a minute of Derrick Rose while he was with the Chicago Bulls, you should already know who Stacey King is because he always has those legendary quotes every time Derrick Rose did something amazing. At least that's how I remember him. But what you might not know is he was also a former Chicago Bull basketball player. He was a power forward / center that was around 6'11", and he only averaged about 3 rebounds, and remember that because that's going to become really important in a minute. So the Bulls are getting ready to play the Utah Jazz the next game, and before that, a truck drops a load of stuff off for them to sign. Those little souvenirs and basketballs that they sign for the charity. So they're just doing that, having some nice team bonding, when Michael decides he's gonna roast the shit out of Stacey King. Now here's the catch, he didn't actually call Stacey King's name, but everyone in the room knew who he was talking about. I'm gonna go ahead and read you the quote because it's pretty damn savage. Listen to this. You ever hear of a guy 6'11", maybe 260 pounds, a guy big and fat like that, and he can't get but 2 rebounds, if that many, running all over the damn court, and he gets 2 rebounds? Now, at this point, everyone knows who he's talking about, and Stacey King reportedly says "F you" to Michael, but you know, that never stops Michael because he's gonna keep going and see how far he can push it. Big guy like that, and he gets 1 rebound, can't even stick his ass into people and get more than that. Big guy like that, big fat guy, 1 rebound in 3 games, power forward, maybe they should call it powerless forward. Powerless forward, bruh, that is savage as hell. So yeah, reportedly Stacey got pretty sick of that. He dropped his stuff and went out. He couldn't take it anymore, and as you can see, Michael was pretty quick on his feet when it came to talking shit, so you can only imagine what it was actually like to opposing players, cause you know, yeah. Oh my god, he called the man a powerless forward. I haven't heard that one before. Victim 1, Kwame Brown. To be completely honest, I could have made an entire video just titled "How Michael Jordan Ruined Kwame Brown's Career," but after I read all the details, I was like, you know, I'm just gonna let this man's career rest in peace. I'm gonna say my little piece about it in this video and just let it be, because everyone wonders why Kwame Brown was such a huge bust, and I just have this little hunch that Michael breaking his spirit with trash talk might have been at the root of it. Now, to fully understand this, it's important to understand that Kwame Brown came from a less than satisfying upbringing. You know, his dad was reportedly really abusive and got life in prison for killing his girlfriend, so that just kind of shows you the background that Kwame came from. So when he was drafted to the NBA and he said something like, you know, I know I'm the first player to ever be picked #1 straight out of high school, and Michael is really risking for me, I can't really disappoint him, you know, you're already setting yourself up to pretty much be dead meat under Michael, because you don't want to disappoint him. And even if you're not disappointing Michael, as you can see with the way he talked to other teammates, he's gonna make you feel like it just so he can see what you're made of. So yeah. So it was pretty messed up because Michael actually used to kind of, you know, invite Kwame Brown to his house so they could work out. He would invite him around so he could show him what it was going to look like when he was successful, and you can kind of say that Michael was a bit of a mentor and father figure for him coming through the NBA. And that's extremely helpful, being that he was still a high school kid basically with all these expectations. Now, where Kwame kind of messed up at is apparently he tried to challenge Michael Jordan into playing one-on-one, and Michael didn't want to do it, but Kwame Brown was so convinced that since he was bigger and taller and younger that he would be able to take him, and he made the mistake of using one of Michael's famous quotes against him, saying, "You reach, I teach," to which Michael apparently responded, "You teach, I'll knock you on your damn ass." So, you know, it was really downhill from there, honestly. Michael obviously killed him one-on-one, and he talked trash to him while he was doing it. Apparently, he told the man, "You better call me daddy," during the one-on-one game, and this was in front of people too, so that's already pretty humiliating. What you must understand is that Kwame Brown was a #1 pick, the first one to ever come out of high school, so Michael was likely going to try to tear him down anyways and see what he was really made of, just to build him back up so he could be stronger. That was the strategy. Only problem is that does not work on everybody, and it failed miserably for Kwame Brown, because it didn't stop there. There's so many accounts of people saying that Michael would basically reduce the man to tears in front of the entire team during practices. He would call him a flaming faggot, which I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys that story now, because Kwame Brown actually didn't like the rookie treatment that you got in practice. So you would get fouled, but you're taught not to call the foul or not to say anything about it because you're supposed to just take it being the rookie. However, one day he decided that he was going to speak up and say something about it, and Michael was on the court at the time. He stepped to him, and I'm gonna go ahead and read you the quote for this. "You f***ing flaming faggot. You don't get a foul call on a little touch foul, you bitch. You don't bring that shit in here. Get your ass back on the floor and play. I don't want to hear that shit out of you again. Get your ass back and play, you bitch." Damn! So yeah, as you can see, Michael was basically testing his manhood right there, and it just went downhill. Kwame Brown only averaged like 4.5 points and 3.5 rebounds for his rookie year. There was so many questions about his commitment, and this is just a little taste of what I'm giving you guys right here. I'm not gonna go into the entire thing, but you get the gist right now. Michael broke him down to the smallest possible man that he could, and apparently at some point he was gonna try to build him back up, but you know, how unlucky is Kwame Brown, right? Because we all know that he went on to have to play with Kobe Bryant as well, which was probably like a gift wrap compared to what he had to deal with Michael. But story goes there that he was so mentally fragile by that point that Kobe told him he was going to pass him the ball because they were playing the Pistons and they weren't paying him any attention. Rasheed Wallace was leaving him wide open, and Kobe's like, "You're under the basket, I'm going to pass you the ball. They're paying attention to me." Kwame Brown tells him, "Don't pass me the ball because if they foul me, I probably won't make the free throws." So yeah, if that doesn't show you how he was broken, man. He was broken by that point in his career. So yeah, we laugh about Kwame Brown being a bust, we do all the bagging on him for being such a terrible player, but you know, the one thing that I've never seen anybody mention is that Michael Jordan had a huge part played in that, cause yeah, his career was finished before it started, but he did last quite a while to his credit. I'm pretty sure he made a lot of money off this. And that is the end of the video. That is 9 crazy stories about Michael Jordan basically, you know, either being a savage or trying to be a savage to teammates or opposing players. Now, let me just remind you, these are 9 stories. I tried to tell ones that I didn't already see on YouTube, so of course there's the one about Muggsy Bogues, but people have already, you guys know about that one. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stories I haven't heard as well, so I want you guys to leave your craziest Michael Jordan trash talk story, or just craziest story period, in the comment section. There should be plenty out there, because he was not choosy about who he trash talked to. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned what a savage Michael was. I had fun telling the story, so like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'm Dom2K, and I will see you guys on the next video.